Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to Fast Guard News. I'm Dwight Gibson,
I'm Roderick Payne.
and today we want to have a conversation with you about the fires in Southern California.
I think this is more like a special report. We should have that dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun special report.
Yeah.
You know.
So, I mean, you have experience dealing with the aftermath of a fire that decimates an area. Can you talk a little bit about what's to be expected when the fires are put out? Mm-hmm. Like, what are the next steps for individuals that have been displaced, as well as shelters or businesses or emergency organizations that are out there in the relief effort?
Correct. So, first of all, we do have experience. The situation that happened back in 2008, the Paradise Fires.
2018.
2018.
Okay.
And when we got there, I would say the emergency management department and the sheriff and everybody was trying to get together to figure out what's going on. First and foremost, whenever you have a disaster that requires people to evacuate, in a situation like this, the very first thing is people just lost everything. Mm-hmm. So you got to understand and consider that the people that are coming there to these evacuation shelters are already distraught. On top of they're bringing all of whatever belongings they were able to bring in to this shelter or from their car, and they're going to be in there, they're displaced. So that panic starts. So number one, we're going to include in the link in the bio all of the information you need for whatever shelters are near you if you're going through the emergency. The second thing is there's going to be all kind of scamsters out there, and it's been all over the news that people, like FEMA comes and FEMA starts writing checks immediately. So there's usually an armed guard standing beside the FEMA truck, and they're sitting out there asking you where you live. There's a processing center, and people are getting big checks, $150,000, $15,000, $20,000, and some of these people didn't have a house. Mm-hmm. And so they got to get all the scamsters out now. What's going on right now is they're sending out denial letters. So they denied everybody. Nobody got whatever money they had set aside because they're saying they didn't have money. So I think the first thing is you get to a shelter, you have to make sure the shelter has some type of level of security or segregation. You got to have the women and children in one bay. Most of them are going to be like high school gyms or fairgrounds. When we got to Butte County, part of the issue they were having is they had everybody kind of joined in together because they were still trying to get everything, figure out how many people died, where people are going to be at long term. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I think that we came in and really solved the problem on was having that segregation, because you got people that were living in the streets that may have various backgrounds, including child molestation or child predators. So you don't want to have those people in the same room as women and children. Step one. Step two, just like any other location that you're going to have a lot of people at, we learned from COVID, there's something called norovirus that's kind of going around now. It started right before the fire happened, but it's spread by people not washing their hands. Mm-hmm. So one of the first things we had to do was not only segregate people, but put mandatory hand washing stations, so you can't come inside the control zone without washing your hand. Mm-hmm. It got so bad that anybody that got norovirus, they had to have a containment unit. One of our guards ended up getting it, and with noro, you vomit and you defecate at the same exact time. So like you're just all over the place. And they started segregating people, even people with families. The husband can't sleep with the mom. He got to go sleep in this trailer. So you got to keep that in mind. Hand washing becomes very important. Hand sanitizer, bottled water. So they have to have a location where they're staging all of their water and everything that they're going to use for supplies. I think the next thing is because they're going to have a curfew, they just showed on the news that they arrested, I think, like 50 people trying to loot. That's going to happen. You got, like I said, people's belongings. Some people weren't able to take everything. Mm-hmm. And that's what these criminals are depending on. So if I'm a person that, oh, man, my house just got burnt down, first thing first, find an evacuation center. Once I get to the center, they're probably going to move you around a couple times because these things are going to be long term. So the other thing that FEMA did in Paradise is they laid down blacktop. They bulldozed a certain area to make it level, and they built temporary houses.
Like asphalt?
Like asphalt.
Okay.
So they laid down a big thing, man. It was like a rail, like a runway for an airplane. Mm-hmm. And they built temporary housing because these people, believe it or not, the people from Katrina, this is kind of off topic, but the people from Katrina are still living in temporary housing right now. Can you believe that? That some people still from Katrina. It's right down in Miami, right off the expressway. There's a big colorful building, and that building was purchased and bought to bring people over here to assist with the evacuation. So that just goes to show you, I think Katrina happened, man, it had to be 10 years, 15 years. And you think about that, you think about these people are basically permanently displaced. Now, Los Angeles and where that area is, Santa Monica and all that, it's not going to be that, I'm sure. These are whole neighborhoods, but first, the EPA has to come in and determine what things may have burnt down that may be affecting the soil, the air quality. So they got to come do a cleanup. Then they can start building houses, laying foundations, setting up new electrical codes. So it's going to be a long, drawn out thing. And so first thing first, if I'm displaced, I'm finding the evacuation center. Second, if you're in an evacuation center, you should make yourself familiar with the meal times, because that becomes very important. There's in many cases, I seen they were sending people from Mexico and all over the world. Canada sent the airplane down. So there's people trying to pitch in from everywhere, just like every disaster. The issue is going to be is that all those people need to eat, all those people need a place to sleep, all of those people have to have clean water. And so to take a shower, they're going to have
use the bathroom.
Correct. So you need to, if you're on a site right now and you've been displaced out of your home, you need to familiarize yourself with the meal times or whatever giveaways they're giving. Because you remember when we went to North Carolina, they had like they say, hey, at this time you're going to give out free food. Come over here and get barbecue. So you got to listen to the local radio and whatever news channels are going on. You need to know what time the curfew is, because that's very important. Guys, if your house burnt down and you didn't have insurance, just let it go. Don't try to go back into disaster and end up getting shot after curfew because you're trying to go get your kids' photos. Like, some things you just have to look at and just admit it's a loss. I know it's very hard to deal with, and I know that a lot of people are going to go through a more of a traumatic situation just moving there. Like, I could imagine, I was there by myself, but I couldn't imagine going there with kids and seeing how that headache was.
So from a security standpoint, like if you're someone that has to go to a shelter or an evacuation center, they may call it, how do you as an individual stay safe? And if you have your family with you, how do you keep your family safe?
Well, the biggest thing is they need to have, if you go to an evacuation center and they do not have security, you need to raise awareness. There's going to be members from the American Red Cross or the Department of Emergency Services or Emergency Management. Talk with them and tell them, hey, all of us are here in this room and I know it's temporary, but are there any type of security measures? When you're with your family, the biggest thing is that you guys stay together. But in most of these situations, there's no segregation. Like I said, it's just a big open room. And granted, you got families in there, but people have dogs. Like, it's all kind of stuff going on. And they're going to have to segregate the people from the pets. They're going to have to separate the women and children from the men, even if they're family. You're going to have to set up temporary showers and everything else. But from a security standpoint, if you want to, some people said they would just sleep in their cars because it got so violent at one point. You got people that may be on drugs, tweaking in the middle of the night, waking up yelling. So keep your family segregated. If I was going to do it and I had my family, I would try to get somewhere in a corner somewhere. But unfortunately, you're not going to be able to pick your spot. You're going to go wherever they say you are. So if you see that location does not have security, the first thing I would do is ask a question. Hey, is there going to be any type of security here? You'll notice at these places there's no pat down. And they do that, I don't know if that's for a reason or whatever, because they know people are going to be bringing everything in. We had posted at ours, at several of the disasters we went to, this is a weapon-free zone, so the only people that are going to have guns are us. But in many of them, there's no pat down, there's no checking through bags. A person could be in there with C4 and you wouldn't know it. And so that creates a danger. There needs to be some type of checkpoint at that front gate or wherever these people are entering at least asking those questions. If you don't want to pat people down because they've been through a disaster, at least ask, hey, are you bringing any weapons? And maybe leave that in the car. So
when we arrived on site in Butte County in 2018, without, getting too graphic, what was the initial assessment before security got there, and then the implementation and how it kind of changed the outlook and how it made people feel safer and more comfortable to move around?
Correct. So the original request for Butte County was for 6 guards. And I tried to ask and tried to get as much information as I possibly could. They just asked for 6 guards. I said, what are the guards going to be doing? They said, oh, well, we'll tell them when they get here. I said, well, we're going to come give an assessment and walk through. When I got there, I sent the 6 guards, but I told them that it's going to be based on our assessment because in the end, all of these people have different roles. We're security professionals. When we got there, we realized that not only did they need more than 6 guards, they needed like a ridiculous amount of guards all around the clock. And that ridiculous number was like 150 guards, 24/7. And it ended up being almost for 9 months, 10 months at that level. So imagine if we would have came up there as a security guard company and we're given a perception of, yeah, this is safe, but it's not really safe. There's no way. I think there were 28,000 people displaced. You got to look at this, the situation going on in L.A. right now or in California right now is there's 95,000 people displaced. That's,
Estimated.
That's like triple of what was going on. I think in Butte County and the Paradise Fires, there were 40 that were found dead. I think right now they've located, 96. Right now they've located 40 or identified 40 people that are either missing or possibly dead, presumed dead. So it's just a different level of emergency. I think the high time is kind of dying down. I think they got the fire at like 37%. But boom, here comes another variable that they didn't think of. These Siberian wind storms are coming in, and it's supposed to blow debris and fire and ash all over another part of California. So I think that when we came in to that particular situation, they wanted something very small because they didn't know. It wasn't that they were trying to pull the wool over my eyes. It's just they didn't really understand the magnitude of what we were dealing with. Luckily, we were able to convince them to see things our way, and we got everything handled. We didn't take one loss there. Not one person beat up, not one thing stolen, not one kid missing. We were able to control everything.
And it's always better to be proactive than reactive.
100%. If over time they kind of tapered the security off, so they went from 150 to maybe 100, and they're gonna shut down some of these sites. But when the fire was still burning and people were just getting over there, like it was crazy times. You had people that if they weren't allowed to bring their guns in, they were just gonna sit out in the parking lot. The issue with them sitting in the parking lot is they're out there and we know that they're armed and they're out there drinking and having a great time and they got guns in their car. So it's a lot of different variables on top of while we were there. The second day we were there, a child went missing. And that's a nightmare in an evacuation place where it could be transients. Like I said, you got all kind of fraudsters that come in and try to get money from FEMA that didn't live in the area. So you don't know who's there. So it's best if you have your family, keep them safe. It's also an understanding that every single fire or every single disaster that we've been to, it starts as one thing and it turns into a whole nother once you're there, boots on the ground. You can use North Carolina in Asheville as an example of that, how it was one thing and they needed this, and then, you guys are here, we got 2 more sites from you. We got another 4 sites for you. It's always something more. So we're kind of there at the whim of the client and what they need when we assess it.
All right. And we're ready to deploy at a moment's notice. It's kind of what we do.
Yeah, that Paradise thing, we put 150 guys together in 24 hours. 24 hours, like 90,000 in plane tickets. So, that's a big ask, but we were able to supply, and, we try to live up to our name. And so going there, so we'll be there next week in California. Hope to see a lot of you guys. We're going to come and try to do some humanitarian efforts. We want to find out how everybody's doing, and we got some local employees that we want to go check on and make sure everything's fine. But for the most part, we're going to check up on some of our clients and see if they need any additional services or anything that we can help with I guess, under our wheelhouse.
All right. Well, Fast Guard Service, you can reach us online at www.fastguardservice.com. or by phone at 844-254-GUARD. Please give us a call. Talk to you soon.
And our condolences to everyone that lost someone in the fire, and our condolences to all those that lost homes and their current way of life. I hope that you guys will be all right, and I'm praying for you. We're praying for you here at Fast Guard.
Absolutely.